$355 million. That's roughly what Steven Spielberg, the man behind Jaws, Schindler's List, and Jurassic Park, could have owed California had he still been a resident when its proposed billionaire tax takes effect. On January 1st, 2026, he was not. The most iconic director in Hollywood history had quietly become a New Yorker, and the timing has set off a political firestorm that is about a lot more than one filmmaker's address. Here's what actually happened. On January 1st, 2026, the very date that would determine who owes California's proposed one-time 5% wealth tax on billionaires, Steven Spielberg and his wife, actress Kate Capshaw, officially registered as residents of New York. The couple took up residence at the San Remo Co-op on Central Park West in Manhattan, a building that has previously housed Bono, Mick Jagger, and Tiger Woods. On the same day, Spielberg's production company, Amblin Entertainment, opened a new office in New York City. Spielberg has an estimated net worth of $7.1 billion, according to Forbes. A 5% tax on that figure would mean a bill of approximately $355 million to the state of California. Money California suddenly will not be collecting from him, if it collects the tax at all. His spokesperson, Terry Press, told the Los Angeles Times that the move had been long planned and was driven purely by Spielberg and Capshaw's desire to be closer to their New York-based children and grandchildren. But the timing, down to the calendar day, is what has everyone talking. To understand why this matters, it helps to understand what California is actually trying to do with this tax, and what is at stake. The proposal comes from the Service Employees International Union, United Healthcare Workers West, known as SEIU-UHW. The union drafted the measure in direct response to federal Medicaid cuts enacted under President Trump in July 2025. Those cuts require patients, including people with complex disabilities, to fill out eligibility paperwork every 6 months to maintain their coverage. California has 14.5 million Medicaid recipients, more than any other state in the country. More than a third of all California residents are enrolled. The union's argument is straightforward. If the federal government is pulling back, someone has to fill the gap. And California has roughly 200 billionaires. The proposed tax is a one-time 5% levy on any California resident worth more than $1 billion as of January 1st, 2026. It is not yet qualified for the November ballot, but Senator Bernie Sanders was in Los Angeles this week rallying supporters to collect the 875,000 signatures needed by the April deadline. Now here is where the Spielberg move lands in the middle of all this. California's Franchise Tax Board uses a range of factors to determine residency, including where someone votes, where their children live, where their car is registered, and where they spend their time. Whether Spielberg's move would fully insulate him from the tax, should it pass, is not publicly known. The legal picture is genuinely complicated. But the symbolism is not complicated at all. Spielberg is not Elon Musk. He did not move to Texas. He did not move to Florida. He moved to New York, another high-tax, traditionally Democratic state. And yet, California is still losing him. That detail breaks the simple story that billionaire migration is purely a red state versus blue state phenomenon. This is more specific. It is about California in particular and the signal it is sending to the people who built it. He is not alone. Google co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin have reportedly purchased homes in Florida and moved some of their companies ahead of a potential change in tax status. Days before January 1st, the two terminated or relocated 15 related companies out of California, according to the New York Times. Mark Zuckerberg is reportedly in discussions to purchase a $200 million home in Miami. Palantir chairman Peter Thiel, who has also reportedly left the state, donated $3 million to a political committee opposing the measure. Venture capitalist Chamath Palihapitiya has claimed that billionaire departures have already sent $1 trillion in wealth fleeing the state. The methodology behind that figure has not been clearly explained. Meanwhile, Amblin Entertainment's new New York office is a quiet but meaningful business signal. Spielberg has owned homes on both coasts since the mid-90s, so the physical move was not a dramatic overnight decision. Formally anchoring his production infrastructure in New York says something about where he sees his professional future. Not everyone sees the Spielberg move or the broader billionaire exodus narrative as the story it is being made out to be. Darian Shansky, a law professor at the University of California, Davis, who co-authored the tax proposal, describes the wave of high-profile relocations as paper mobility. His argument is that wealthy people restructure their legal residency on paper while continuing to live and work much as they did before. The talent, the networks, the amenities that made California attractive do not disappear because someone changes their mailing address. Suzanne Jimenez, chief of staff at SEIU went further, calling the threat of capital flight a scare tactic that will not play out in practice. There is also polling that complicates the picture. A survey conducted in January by the Mellman Group found 48% of California respondents supported the billionaire tax, with 38% opposed. A broader 2025 Harris poll found that 71% of Americans nationally supported the concept of a wealth tax. That is not a fringe position. And Governor Gavin Newsom, who is navigating a nearly $3 billion budget deficit, partly caused by federal funding cuts, has distanced himself from the measure, telling Bloomberg News that billionaires should not be leaving the state over a tax that he believes is unlikely to pass. California political analyst Daniel Schnur noted that it would be surprising if the measure did not qualify for the ballot, given the political environment, but added that Newsom will likely push for a legislative solution rather than let it go to a public vote. For regular Californians, the stakes in this fight are concrete and immediate. Nearly 200,000 Medi-Cal recipients could lose coverage under the federal rollback, according to SEIU estimates. Rural hospitals, home-based care facilities, and trauma centers that serve communities with few alternatives are among the most vulnerable. The tax, its backers argue, exists to prevent those closures. But if the departure of high net worth residents accelerates, California faces a compounding problem. The state is already the world's fourth largest economy, built substantially on the tax revenues generated by the technology industry. Losing that base, even partially, even on paper, makes an already stretched budget harder to balance. The California Business Roundtable's Rob Lapsley warned that the proposed tax weakens the entire economic ecosystem that supports jobs, investment, and public services for everyday Californians. The legal road ahead is also uncertain. Mark Jaffe of the California Policy Center suggested the measure, if it reaches voters and passes, would face significant legal challenges and could be litigated all the way to the Supreme Court. What Steven Spielberg's move clarifies is that California's relationship with its wealthiest residents has entered a new, more unstable phase, and the outcome will shape public services, tax policy, and the state's economic identity for years to come. Capital Flight will be tracking the signature drive, the ballot qualification, and what other names follow Spielberg out the door. Steven Spielberg spent decades turning California dreams into American mythology. Now he is a New Yorker. Whether that is about family taxes or both, California may want to ask itself what it means when the man who made you feel good about America decides somewhere else feels like home.